Welcome back to our class, Psych 5, Personal and Social Awareness. In this video, I'm going to talk about the content covered in Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is about the relationships. So in this video, we are going to talk about what high-quality relationships are like. We are going to talk about how to resolve the interpersonal conflicts, how to have effective communication, and other related topics about relationships. So let's continue our lecture.
Okay, so before the lecture, I would like to invite you to watch the movie clip, and this clip is really funny. It is about two men arguing with each other. You can see from this picture. So let's watch the video first. Here we go. It's loading. Yes.
Can I get it? Certainly. Thank you. Miss?
I'll be right there, sir.
Where's your headset?
She's busy right now, but it's coming.
For crying out loud, you're missing important plot points.
Ma'am?
Could you give me a second, sir?
Excuse me. Could I maybe get that headset, please?
Do not raise your voice to me, sir.
I wasn't raising my voice.
Okay, just calm down.
I am calm. I just want my headset.
Sir, our country is going through a very difficult time right now, and if you're not going to cooperate...
I don't know where a headset ties into patriotism.
Is there a problem here, sir?
I don't think so.
Can you come to the back of the plane with me so we can have a talk?
To talk about what? There's not a problem. This stewardess just keeps...
Flight attendant.
The flight attendant keeps ignoring me when I ask.
Calm down.
I am calm. What is it with you people?
You people.
Oh, no, wait a minute. I don't mean you people. I mean you people.
Sir, I will not tolerate any racist behavior on the plane. This is a very difficult time for our country.
I know that. I'm not a racist. I just want to watch the movie.
I'm only going to say this one more time, sir. Calm down.
I'm calm!
All rise.
What do you think? Not guilty. It's a no-brainer.
Mr. Busnick, in case 723, assault and battery against a flight attendant, I find you guilty.
Yeah, so you can see from this clip, there must be something wrong with these people. They people. At the beginning, the story is like that man wants a headset to watch the movie on the airplane, and the attendants are like, the attendants don't really care much about the requirement from that man, and the man is a little bit unhappy about this, and the old man on the side like says something to make this man more angry. And later, this man started to argue with the attendant, and the conflict and the conversation becomes like verbal conflict. This verbal conflict is elevating one step by step, and at the beginning, it's just this man wants the headset to watch a movie. And later it becomes assault. Later it becomes patriotism, and then becomes racism. So it is elevating a step by step, and this, I think this is really good example of awful communication or bad communication between people, among people. So the question we need to ask is like how to communicate. For them, how to communicate to not elevate the seriousness of the conversation. So how to calm down, how to keep the conversation as it is. That's a really good question for us to know about. And this clip is very dramatic. We usually don't do this. Usually don't talk like this. However, sometimes in our life, we follow our conversations. Sometimes follow this kind of pattern, and sometimes we meet a situation that we are so angry with each other, and actually there's just a very little stuff in our life. So let's see how we communicate, how we communicate better to make our life better. So let's yeah. So let's think about this question. What is a good or high quality relationship like? So you can find someone right now you can talk to, or you can talk to yourself and share your understanding about this question. So what is a good relationship like? What is a high quality relationship like? In your understanding, what relationships are good? What are the features of good relationship? So you can pause the video right now and think about the answers, share your understanding to yourself or to other people. Okay, so next major topic, we are going to talk about the features of good relationship or meaningful relationships. So before knowing about what a bad relationship is, we can know about what a good relationship is. So we can have a sense of how to build a good relationship. So there are some keywords about the meaningful relationships. The first thing is the position. If there are two people, they have a relationship, no matter it's romantic relationship, no matter it's they're friends or they're like other kinds of relationships, there are some features about their relative positions between the two persons. The first is that they are equal. No one is superior, no one is inferior, no one is lower, no one is higher. They are equal. You can see this from a romantic relationship. You can see this from the relationship between the parents and the kid, the relationship between friends, relationship between colleagues. In the good relationships, the relative positions are that they are equal to each other. No one is dominant, no one is higher than the other. And also, more importantly, they are independent. They have independent identities. They are separate. They don't believe they are one person. They don't believe that they should monitor each other. They should manage each other or control each other. They don't think so. So in the equal relationship and the good relationship, there's no controlling. There's no monitoring. There's no manipulating, because their identities are separate. Each person is an organism that has his or her own feelings, emotions, cognitions, and motivations, and all that. So everyone is an individual, separate, independent individual. So we need to respect that fact if we want a good, meaningful relationship. And of course, because they have separate identities, so that they are responsible for their own happiness. So they have their own feelings and emotions. They're responsible for their own happiness. Each one is responsible for each one's own happiness and sadness and other stuff, other emotions. And also, do not expect the other to do for them. So it's like we are separate, we are independent. We can make each other happy. We can be honest to each other. We can share the happiness with each other, but we will not expect that this person will do something for me. So nobody has the obligation or responsibility to do something for the other. So no one is owing to someone else. So we are, the reason why we are together, because we can share the happiness. We can make each other happier. We can make each other's life better. So that's why we get close. That's why we build a relationship. It's not about obligation. We do not have any obligations to taking care of other people. And something that we can do to improve the quality of relationships can be like we can provide the honest respect, feedback to the other, and also we can be respectful. We can provide a feedback that is honest. It means that we provide a true information to the other, so the other knows what is happening accurately. And also we need to show the respect to each other, because we are equal. No one is superior to the other. So we need to respect the other as a person, as a separate individual. And also people in good relationships pay attention to maintain the relationships, keep the relationships healthy. So relationship is not just one-time thing. It needs cultivation, it needs development, needs to invest for a very, very long time. So it doesn't mean that if you build a relationship with the other, it doesn't mean that you don't have to do anything else in the future to maintain this relationship. You need to invest. You need to keep this relationship good or healthy. And also they can enjoy together. They share the happiness together. So that's the things that they can do in meaningful relationships. And this relationship is not exclusive. That means that it sounds familiar. So there was once in the previous lecture that I talked about this. So building a relationship doesn't mean it is exclusive. It means that you can also find the meaning or outside of this relationship. So this relationship is just a part of your life. It's just part of the meanings that you have. You can find other meanings in other aspects of your life. You can also find other relationships, build other relationships with other people. And what is the effect? What is the outcome of good relationships? So in a good relationship, each person can get better. So that's the probably most important meaning for why we build relationships together, because we can help each other be better. So each person can be better. It's like a relationship is like a environment, really nice social environment in which we can develop, we can be ourselves. We can choose what to do and we can choose what not to do. So these are the outcomes of good relationships. Each one can be better. Each one can be self. We can encourage each other to be their true selves. And also, why we build this relationship is because of choice, our choice. We choose to do so. We choose to build the relationships with some people. So no good relationships are based on force, based on slaving, or based on something that is not free. So good relationships are based on volition, based on free will, based on free choice. So we have the free choice to choose who we want to communicate with, who we want to build relationships with. So that's really key feature of meaningful relationships or good relationships. So actually, this is really similar to love. So with authentic love, remember last time, in the lecture about the love, so in authentic love, people can get better. People can be their true selves. They have the safety to be their true self. They have the safety so that they can be better in authentic love. And good relationships are also like authentic love. In good relationships, they can be better. They can be their true selves. They have the safety. So meaningful relationships in the authentic love are like really ideal social environments in which each person can grow, each person can be better. And also another important feature of good relationship is that they are able to deal with conflict. They can successfully, most time, deal with the conflict that they have. Good relationship doesn't mean that they do not have conflicts at all. It means that they have conflicts, but they can resolve them. And there's a down part of the relationship, but they can restore. This kind of relationships are resilient. Not only a person is resilient, but relationships can be resilient. They can relationships can be bad for a period of time, but the good relationships can restore to the original state. Means that they're resilient. So these are the features of meaningful relationships or good relationships. Probably these are not this is not an exhaustive list. There can be other important features as well, but right here we can know about these features are really important in meaningful relationships or good relationships. So let's go to the next topic. And here's another question for you to think about. What is the most successful experience of dealing with anger or conflicts in your relationship? So think about a time that you can successfully deal with anger or conflicts in a relationship. Most successfully. So you can think about successful experiences of dealing with anger, but you can pick one that is most successful and think about that. Tell that story to yourself or to the person that you can talk to. And then you can pause the video right now and think about it. So next part, we can talk about how to make relationship better, or how to manage conflicts or manage anger toward other people. So first of all, we need to know that sometimes conflict between two persons might be just a sign of individual differences. Sometimes it does not involve moral judgment, does not involve what is right or what is wrong. So sometimes people have conflicts not because somebody is wrong or somebody is right. It's just because they have different habits, they have different feelings, they have different views, they have different attitudes towards something, and they're different. And later they feel like, oh, the other is weird, and the other shouldn't be like that. The other shouldn't say this, or the other shouldn't have this kind of attitude. They don't allow the other to have other attitudes or behaviors or words, so that they have conflict. Sometimes it's just because of individual differences. For example, we have a lot of different habits. So I have one story that is really funny, and there's a couple. The husband never turns down the light. The husband will turn up the light all the time and never turn the light down. And the wife is a very careful and conscientious person, and very neat, very organized. So the wife doesn't allow that. Every time the husband leaves somewhere without turning down the light, the wife will be angry and argue about that with the husband. The husband is suffering too, because husband already has this habit of not keeping the light on, never turning off the light. But the wife has a habit of turning off the light when the light is not necessary there. So these two people have husband and wife, and have a really huge conflict, or really huge arguing happening all the time in their life. So this is one case that there are individual conflicts because of individual differences. So sometimes we need to know that sometimes we have conflict with each other just because everyone is unique, or everyone is different from each other. And the second thing we need to know is that we can transform the conflict or confrontation to another thing, to a caring act. It is not just a threat in our life, it is also a challenge. It is an opportunity for us to have better relationships. It is an opportunity for us to practice our skills to resolve conflicts. So, of course, when we have conflict with each other, with other people, it is a threat in our life. It damages our well-being, damages our happiness. But we can think about it a different way. We can transform this as a caring act, as something else, as the opportunity or challenge. So how to transform this? How to turn this situation toward a good direction? So really important thing that we need to do is that we need to really listen and understand what the other person says. So understanding is really the most important key here to turn the confrontation to a caring act, to resolve the interpersonal conflict. So really listening and understanding what the other person says. And also the second point is that we need to know our motivation. We need to know why we do this, why we are angry, why we like to have conflicts with the other. and also tell this motivation, tell this intentions to the other. So clarify what you want. Maybe in the example that I just talked about, the husband just want to maintain the habit. He just has this habit. That's it. The wife can. What is the wife's intention? The wife just want to have maintain the habits as well. So they both want to maintain the habits, but they are different. They have different habits. So make it clear. Make it what everyone wants. Make it what everyone is motivated to do. And also the next one is that in the conflict, in the confrontation, we can see how behaviors affect us, how those behaviors affect us, how other people's behaviors influence us, rather than how they are. So you do not have to talk, you do not have to tell the other how they are or what kind of person they are. You can just talk about how their behaviors affect you, affect yourself. Talk about the fact instead of judgments. So don't have to elevate the conflict. Just talk about what the facts are. And also the next suggestion to manage conflicts is that do not have to plan the next response when the other is speaking. So this principle is also the same with the first one. So really understand and listen. Do not do other things when the other is speaking, because you need to pay attention, pay the full attention to understand what the other is saying, what the other person is wanting, is intending to do. And also the next one is that you need to be responsible for your own feelings. It means that if you have some feelings, it's because of your psychological mechanism. It is because of you, not because of others. Because we have learned that in the stress chapter, the chapter about the stress management, any stress comes from the reaction to threats. Actually, the feelings and emotions, all the feelings and emotions besides stress, are actually from there, are from our brain, are from our neural system, are from our physical body. So our physical body is creating those emotions and feelings in our mind all the time. There are stressors, there are facts, there are things that happen in life. However, we have reactions to those things. And that's why we have all kinds of feelings, emotions, happiness, and sadness, anger, and other stuff. All these feelings and emotions come from the reactions that our physical body created. Because our physical body needs to respond to some kind of threats in life. So when we know about that, we can take the responsibility for our own feelings. The real reason for why we have those feelings is because we have those feelings, not because other people make us to have those feelings. And this fact implies that we can manage our own emotions. We can determine what kind of emotions that we can have instead of being controlled by others. If you don't believe that, if you believe that other people make you angry, other people make you happy, it's like it's like they assume that their own emotions are controlled by other people, right? Because other people can do something to make them angry, make them happy, make them sad. They don't have the control at all. But it's not the case, because any feelings and emotions come from your own brain and the neural system. Okay, so the next suggestion is that we can tell others how we are struggling. Tell the other our feelings. On one hand, understand how the other is feeling and thinking. But on the other side, let the other know how we are feeling, how we are struggling, how we are thinking. So that's about communication. So real communication can resolve conflicts. Why there are conflicts? Because there is no understanding. There's no real communication happening between the two persons. So if there is real communication happening, we can know each other's feelings and struggling and intentions and motivations and all that. So we need a real understanding of each other. And the last suggestion is that do not walk away from conflict. So face it, confront with it, do not just walk away, because when the conflicts arise, they are there. They do not just disappear automatically. So sometimes it's just because really small thing can cause conflicts. If you walk away, if you do not mention it, it becomes worse and worse and worse. Yeah, so it may become really a huge conflict later. Yeah, it's like when there's fire, you need to use water or something else to remove the fire, right? So to destroy the fire, you cannot just walk away, waiting for the fire is more severe. You need to deal with the fire. So I know that sometimes it's really hard to do. I mean, not walk away from conflicts. Oftentimes we just walk away from conflicts. I'm also like that because but it's not a good thing to do or right thing to do. So the right attitude or proper attitude to deal with conflict is that when there is a conflict, we turn them into a opportunity or challenge instead of avoiding or walking away from that conflict. So that's a proper attitude to deal with conflicts. So let's like summarize a little bit. So the general principle beyond all this suggestion is that everyone needs to understand the other or another, really understanding. And also everyone needs to express their own true feelings and thoughts to the other. So probably that's the really key principle of real communication to resolve conflicts. So just make sure you are understood by the other and make sure you understand the other. Okay, so let's go to the next part. It is about forgiving. So forgiving also is very important for us to maintain a good relationship. So how to forgive and why to forgive. So the reason for why we forgive others or we forgive ourselves is that we need to move on. We cannot just live in the past. We cannot let the past memory to influence us all the time. We need to go to the future. We need to live in the present moment. We need to be mindful. So that's why we forgive. Forgive doesn't mean forget. We can keep the memory. We cannot to forget, but we can forgive. We don't have to stuck in the past. We need to move on. We need to make the future life better. So that's the reason why we forgive. And also forgiveness is not a one-time event. It's not like suddenly I forgive somebody. It's not that easy. It's a general process. It's a gradual process, and it is happening in your mind slowly, and suddenly you find that you forgive somebody. And there's one thing about forgiving is that how to forgive ourselves. So that's also a topic that is worth discussing. So sometimes we think that we have done something bad to others or to the society or to something else. We sometimes we cannot forgive ourselves. We cannot acknowledge that fact that we have done something bad to others or to something else. We need to forgive ourselves because we cannot stuck in the past. We cannot. We need to move on to the next stage of life. So Cornish and Wade in 2015 made four suggestions, 4 steps to forgive ourselves. The first step is that we need to take the responsibility. We need to recognize and acknowledge that we are responsible for that act, for that behavior. We need to realize that we did something, we have done something that is not really easy to be forgiven. And the second step, we need to have a process of remorsing. In other words, we regret. We regret doing that. We regret so we remorse. And after that, we need to recover from that psychological state. We cannot remorse all the time. We need to restore from that. We need to forgive ourselves, and we can do something to make it better. And the last step is renewal. So we can renew ourselves. We can be a new person. We can move on in the future life. We can be a better person. We can avoid doing something bad again to other people or to something else. So these are the 4 steps of forgiving the self. Okay, so we have talked about how to manage conflicts and anger. And next part, we can talk about how to communicate effectively or have a good communication. So actually, we have talked about how to communicate effectively in the part of managing conflict, but it's we can still talk about it. So the first question is what brings the barriers in communication? What make communication worse? What make a communication doesn't work? So what is the real reason for that? So Carl Rogers, the really important person in the humanistic approach, once said that why we do not have good communication is because people tend to judge others, tend to evaluate and judge the statements of others. So when the other is saying something, people make a judgment. People make an evaluation. Put a label on it. Usually the label is right or wrong, or unreasonable. So there's kind of labels. We sometimes just put the label on the statements of other people. So that's what that's what happened in our cognitive process, and this process is oftentimes very, very fast, very, very automatic, so that we don't even realize we make judgments or we evaluate other people. So oftentimes we just rely on this kind of fast automatic responses to other people's speaking. There's too much judging, too much judgments, there's too less understanding. Yeah, so if they judge all the time so quickly, we cannot really understand the other person. And the other outcome is that we cannot take the other's perspective. In other words, we cannot be empathic. We cannot have empathy on another person. We just live in our own expectations and assumptions. We believe that all my expectations, my assumptions are universally right. It should apply to everybody. And other people, if other people have other expectations and assumptions, they're wrong. They're not good. They're bad. So this process, this cognitive process, oftentimes happens in our mind, and oftentimes is too quick to realize. So what we need to do is that we need to figure out the barriers of effective communication. We need to know the reasons for why that happens. It lies in our cognitive process. So we have a tendency to quickly judge the other's statements. So Carl Roger's suggestion is that each person can speak only after this person restates the ideas or feelings of the previous speaker. So that's his suggestion. I think this is very useful. So really understanding and listening means that this person can restate the previous speaker's thoughts and feelings. If this person cannot, it's not a real good understanding and listening. So real listening means that you listen, you understand, and you restate, repeat what the previous speaker said. So that's called a real understanding and listening. So let's talk about the suggestions to effective communication. Again, really listen and understand. Specifically, the listener can accurately restate or summarize what the speaker said. So that's called a real listening and understanding. And also you can, as a listener, you can keep silent for a while to like think about what this speaker is talking about. Do not have to react to the speaker as soon as possible. And when in the communication, use concrete words and specific words. Make the meaning clear as possible. So that's why we need to use concrete and specific words. Because some words are really fuzzy or vague words. They they might bring misunderstanding. Sometimes we cannot understand those words. So we can use really specific and concrete words. For example, if I say, "Oh, you're too slow," what were you doing? So I waited for you for a very long time. Why you came down so late? So late. So these words are really vague, like too slow or too long, so late. So these words are not concrete at all, not specific. I can instead say that I have waited for you for 30 minutes already when I got here. Since I got here, I have waited for you for 30 seconds. We agree that we need to meet half an hour ago, but we didn't because you came down late for 30 minutes. And I feel not good because I wasted my time for 30 minutes. I do not feel that I was respected. So that might be a better way to communicate, using more specific, concrete concepts or words. So like 30 minutes, talking about my feelings, like something like that. And the next suggestion is that we do not have to ask too many questions. We can make personal statements. We can say what we want. We can say what we like. We can say what we mean, instead of asking too many questions. So using the last example, if I say, where did you go? What are you doing? Why did you come down so late? Something like that. The other will maybe get upset. Yeah, because asking too many questions, like those questions are like not real questions. They're just like like blaming, really like blaming. Although it appears like a question, but it feels like a blaming. So we could just directly talk about our own feelings in that situation. Do not have to ask so many questions. So the next suggestion is that no judging. Please do not make judgments so quickly. Just talk about specific events, concrete stuff. Do not have to judge. There's one example from the textbook, something like, you'll never think about anybody but yourself. It's a judgment. It's not a judgment of, it's not even a judgment about a specific event. It's a judgment of that person. Assumes that this sentence assumes that this person never think about anybody else. This person has some problem in the personalities. So that's a really serious judgment. So we do not have to do that. We do not have to elevate the conflict. Remember the movie clip that we just watched? They always like make judgments, like some patriotism, like racism, assault, or like you people. Actually, that guy means like you too. This man, this attendant, but that guy said, "Oh, you people, what do you mean, you people?" So it's like a judging all the time. The next suggestion is that we need to be honest and direct. Honest and respectful and direct feedback to the other. And also next suggestion is respect. We need to respect that we are all unique. We have different thoughts, habits, emotions, intentions, and perspectives. We need to respect that each other is different, so that we can have a common framework that we can work on, that we can communicate. Otherwise, if we do not respect the other's differences, we cannot have a real understanding, right? Because we assume that you are wrong, you are not right, you shouldn't have that assumption, you shouldn't have that habits or something else. So we need a respect for each other's differences. And also, technically speaking, we need to make sure that our verbal language and non-verbal language, such as postures or facial expressions, eye contacts, all this non-verbal language is consistent with verbal language. So what we say is consistent with what we show. So make it clear, make your expression very clear. And the next suggestion is that we can be open to express feelings. It's okay to talk about the feelings, express the feelings to each other so each other can understand. If we are not open to show our feelings to others, there's no base for real understanding and listening. So all these are the suggestions of effective communication. So a lot of content is overlapped with the suggestions to manage conflicts. Actually, with effective and good communication, we can resolve conflicts easily. Why there's conflict between two persons? That is because there's no effective communication. So all the stuff that we just talked about are the strategies and ways to have good communication and then resolve interpersonal conflicts. So my own understanding of the key to effective communication is that expressing the feelings rather than making judgments, rather than judging. Sometimes the judging happens so quickly in our mind, and we don't even realize it. So we can do something to change this situation. We can slow down our thinking process. We can focus on our feelings. We need to identify our own feelings and then talk about them to other people. Just talk about the feelings. And also at the same time, listen to the other. Listen what the other is speaking, is talking, and understand what the other is feeling. So actually the nature of effective communication is that we exchange the feelings. Emotions and feelings can be the common framework that we all work on, or we can get agreement on this framework. It provides a framework that we are all on that framework. So that's why we need to express the feelings instead of thinking, analyzing, and making judgments. So that's about if communication and anger management or conflict management. So I think these suggestions are very useful and practical. You can use this right away in your life, starting from now. Yeah, there can be other suggestions as well, but we can talk about this much. So next topic is about the ways to end a relationship. How to end a relationship. if we do not want that relationship anymore. So how to like give up a relationship or end a relationship? So when you end a relationship, we need to allow ourselves to be sad, to grieve. So grieving happens when something is lost, something is missing. Some people are missing. Some people have passed away, or something is missing, or a relationship is broken. We need to allow ourselves to have a process of grief, to have a process of being sad, so that we can refresh ourselves and continue to a newer life in the future. So allow ourselves to have those negative feelings when we end a relationship. And also give ourselves time to recover. It's okay to express anger because we need to have a channel to express our feelings. Sometimes we need to depersonalize the other's actions. It means that we need to do not link other people's behaviors to their intentions or to their personalities or to their morality. So their actions are their actions. It doesn't mean that they are bad people or they mean it or they're just like this. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Actions do not necessarily link to one person's morality or personalities or characters. And also you need to be responsible for your own actions because you do every actions that you have done. And also when you are too sad, you can find a social support from others. Remember, a good relationship can help us be better. So finding social support, finding grieving or recovering in a good relationship, that is a really good way. And the next one, forgive yourself. So just to realize that you're probably responsible for a part of this fact, a part of this situation, and allow yourself to be imperfect, allow yourself to regret. And also you can write journals. It's like expressing the anger, expressing the feelings. So you can find some channels to express the feelings so that the feelings are gone and you identify, oh, that's the feelings that you have, and you will feel better. Sometimes why there are all kinds of feelings in the mind, in the body that cannot go away, that is because sometimes the body wants to tell us that you have this feeling. I want to tell you. If we do not recognize that, if we do not acknowledge we have those feelings, our physical body is creating those feelings all the time. So when we forgive ourselves, when we express those feelings by speaking, by writing journals, our body knows, okay, you got it, and that's it. My work is done. So the feelings are never appearing again. So it sounds magical, but sometimes we have a certain kind of feeling all the time just because we ignore that feeling or we do not allow that feeling to express. So there's a conflict between our physical body and our mind. Our mind suppresses that feeling, and our body is creating that feeling all the time, continuously. If we allow just the feelings to express, and it will disappear eventually. Okay, so let's That's the way activity here right now. So you can summarize 3 to 5 strategies to build good relationships. After you listen to all the stuff in this video, in this lecture. So use the knowledge covered in the lecture and also your own experiences. Probably you have some experiences and successful understandings of how to build good relationships. So use any knowledge and experiences and summarize some strategies to build good relationships. 3 to 5. You can write down your answers on the notebook or in your laptop right now. You can pause the video and do this. Okay, so here are the key points to know about. So first of all, we need to know the characteristics of meaningful relationships. So those characteristics we can know about. And next one is the guidelines or the suggestions to manage conflicts and anger. And we have talked a lot about how to manage conflicts. And the next one is the suggestions to having effective communication. Yeah, so we have talked about those suggestions. We need to know about them. So these 3 parts are really the essential stuff that we need to know for this week, for this chapter. Okay, so make sure that you really understand and digest those guidelines, those suggestions. And then let's talk about the journal assignment.
So journal 7 is for chapter 7. And this is a journal about the relationships. First of all, choose a relationship of yours, any kind of relationship, and reflect this relationship in this journal. And in this journal, there are 3 questions. First one, reflect and write about the quality of this relationship. So what is your opinion about the quality of this relationship? If this relationship really good or not good, not so good, you can talk about them. You can use the characteristics of relationships listed on in the textbook on page 211 to 213. So from page 211 to 213 to evaluate this relationship. So you can, how do you evaluate this relationship? How do you tell if it is a high quality or low quality relationship? You can read the characteristics of relationships on those 3 pages, and based on those characteristics, you can evaluate this relationship. And the second question is that what are the barriers that stop you from improving the quality of this relationship? So you can talk about any like difficulties or barriers that stop you from having a high quality relationship. And the third question is about your actions in the future. So what are you going to do to improve the quality of this relationship in the future? You can combine what you have learned in the class. So combine what you have learned in the class, generate a plan about what are you going to do to update, to improve the quality of this relationship in the future. So you can generate a plan and talk about that plan. And this journal assignment is due in April 18th. So that you have only 1 week to finish this journal. Not 2 weeks, but 1 week. So that's all the stuff for this chapter for this week. And hopefully you have gain some knowledge and gain some insights about how to improve the relationships, about what the high quality relationships are, and hopefully you have insights of what real love is, what inauthentic love is, and how to show love to somebody. And I think this topic and this knowledge can be really helpful for you to improve your life in the future. And have a good week, and let's meet next week. And bye bye.